Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And amid the Black Ops 2 throwback tournament, everyone's been asking the question, what about the movement nowadays and the way the game is played currently is different to how things used to be back in the good old days in Black Ops 2. And Rambo has revealed that Shotzzy's movement arguably goes a little bit too far, even in their modern scrims, saying at times it can cost OpTic and Shotzzy needs to learn when to slow it down. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Plenty to dive into today. The throwback tournament, of course, concluded. We saw earlier today the results of that one. Just wanted to say this as well, though. So yesterday was race day in NASCAR with car number 7 bearing this OpTic livery. Now, I don't really watch any NASCAR at all, but I did actually tune into the race yesterday. So I believe the OpTic NASCAR livery here is for Spire Motorsports. Now, as I say, I don't really follow NASCAR, so I'm not particularly familiar, but apparently Spire Esports, relatively low budget teams. They weren't really expected to do that well. But I looked up on motorsport.com and car number 7 actually came 15th, which I believe is for that team a very respectable result. So I mean, yeah, the winners as follows. This is on motorsport.com, but yeah, so car number 7, 15th place out of like 37. There was a fair few DNFs after some crazy moments, but yeah, I think 15th for that team is a pretty respectable outcome. So yeah, good stuff from the OpTic livery NASCAR, and yeah, it was honestly looking, it was one of the best liveries I thought out there. So yeah, good stuff to everyone involved. Interesting to me the fact that the cars have such a big performance differential because they all look the same. I guess some of the cars, you guys, if you're NASCAR fans, I'm sure you can let me know in the comments, like whether if you have more budget, you can probably make a lighter car, lighter chassis, lighter parts. I don't know. I think the engines probably should be kind of relatively spec or similar power. Maybe not though, and I'm sure part of it is the aerodynamics, even though they look kind of similar. But yeah, more money equals more speed, I suppose. That's just generally how it works. But still, pretty cool stuff, even from a relatively kind of budget team to deliver a decent result. And I was tuning in because of the OpTic sponsorship, so I suppose that's a win all around. Just this real quick, because I've been keeping you guys updated on the drama. Well, it's kind of drama the last few days between Microsoft, Activision, Blizzard, Sony, because Sony and others aren't happy that Microsoft want to buy Activision Blizzard because they think that it means that Microsoft are going to give Xbox priority for everything, and Sony don't want that to happen over PlayStation, even though they've done it for years. So Microsoft have responded, given their side of the argument. I'm not going to go through all of this. I mean, it's incredibly complicated stuff, and they're going into detail, and like obviously all these companies are going to phrase things in the way that makes them look best for themselves. They're going to say, oh, Sony, they have more users, so actually, you know, they're the monopoly here, this type of stuff. So anyway, we'll see how it goes, but it's progressing slowly but surely that this acquisition may well still go through in certain countries. At the very least, it will be approved, and then it might take more time in other places. This real quick also from Attach, moving to Texas, I guess that means today. Excited to get the new place set up and ready for Modern Warfare 2 to drop. This is a big thing actually that I believe the Minnesota Rokkr guys said in their announcement really that they did when the team was originally confirmed, that yes, the team is going to be based in Texas for either the majority of the season or I think certainly through the winter months. They don't want to be based in Minnesota again. Attach is probably like, well look, hang on, I don't want to live in Minnesota again during the winter. Much prefer to live out there in Texas. So I think that's going to be the plan here. They're going to get a place set up in Texas and everything, and that probably is going to provide some benefit. It was worth noting just real quick, because yesterday we saw that Gunless said that he wants to live over there in New York, New Jersey type area, definitely doesn't like living in the Texas area in general, and of course that means another team really that he probably won't be joining if he is a sub somewhere, because like if he was, then you'd have expected him to be living there with the team in Texas where he probably doesn't want to be. As I say though, as a sub, do you really need to be there in person? Maybe, maybe not, but I think it can be a beneficial aspect. But yeah, the Minnesota guys, they're based out there in Texas now, like a load of the other teams. The OpTic guys, of course, are there as well. Los Angeles Guerrillas are there, the New York Subliners are there, and it's continuing on a similar trend with some of the other teams. Now, Vegas Legion, I think maybe Temp was, or some of the guys may have been based briefly last season in Texas, but I think like when they actually made the changes and Jimbo came in, of course, they didn't pay for him to fly out there. But Vegas, in fairness to them, I don't know how they came up with this, but yesterday there was the CDLR Fortunes Keep 100k thing going on unfortunately the same date. No one was watching it. Well, people probably weren't watching it, but you know, overshadowed, I would say, by the Black Ops 2 throwback, at least in my opinion. But yeah, so they managed to sign, not really sign, but get these 3 players to play for them. And I don't really know like where they got these guys from or how they managed to find this team of 3, because I'm not really too familiar with a lot of the Warzone stuff. But they got these 3 players to play for them, and it turns out they came second in the entire tournament. So they got a podium finish here. Pretty impressive stuff, because if you look at this, like all the teams here, Los Angeles Guerrillas, their team came 6th, New York Subliners team came 3rd, Seattle, Thieves, like they had some good teams here competing in this, but it was Vegas Legion's team that actually placed the best out of all the CDL franchises, coming 2nd, fractionally behind here. Like over all the games, it was just 1 kill that separated it, 200.6 points compared to 201.4 points. So yeah, don't exactly know how the scoring system works. I didn't really want to look into it, to be honest, but Las Vegas Legion actually got somewhere. I mean, I'm pretty sure every franchise in the CDL now, with the exception of Paris, I guess Legion just in general now, it's there in Vegas, and London have won something in the last 3 years. Like, I think every org has at least won some sort of at least online tourney or something in the last couple of seasons. And yeah, Vegas Legion have not yet, London Royal Ravens have not yet, but that's kind of unfortunate. This obviously wouldn't have counted regardless, but they got kind of close with whatever teams they managed to sign. So I guess fair play, maybe a sign of things to come. Hopefully on a more positive note for Vegas Legion this season, when maybe they're going to be competitive. Maybe that's wishful thinking though. This quickly from Slash, also, yo Loki, I've been thinking you might need me for next year's throwback, so we'll see about that, right? That'll be really good fun. Eggs Slasher Crim +1, who knows? I mean, I don't know what they would do in terms of roles and stuff, because a fair few ARs going on there, but they could probably make it work if they brought in, you know, even Cap's usually an AR player, but they could bring back Envoy. I don't know. They can make something work, but yeah, maybe Slasher's gonna get a business next season on the throwback tournament type stuff. And even Rambo, of course, after playing, yes, he got double first rounded with his team alongside Shotzzy, but well, he had some thoughts on the matter, talking about the gunfights. As he says, the amount of times I got into a gunfight that I thought I'd won or lost and then flipped the outcome because of good or poor shooting made me truly realize how far down the rabbit hole of making things easy for the player Connor's gone. The back and forth needs to come back. It's so evident when you're watching Black Ops 2 be played that like no one is just absolutely dominant with their shooting, right? Like, it's pretty difficult. You can shoot, then you can start missing, then you can start hitting shots again, and if you're losing a gunfight, you can actually come back and win with some clever strafing or good movement and stuff. And as Rambo goes on to say, you can sit here and tell me it's nostalgia, but I haven't had that much fun playing COD in a while. If I did bad on a map, it felt like it was my fault and not just bad timing or random elements, and vice versa. Felt extremely rewarding to do well because I earned it. Key takeaways from Rambo: much less aim assist overall, no aim assist after certain ranges. This is what I was talking about for you guys yesterday, and I think this is 100% valid, and they need to bring this back really, where if you were using any SMG past a certain range, you got 0 aim assist. So you could take the fight, but good luck winning it, right? And if you do win it, you're just an absolute god. And it meant that SMGs were, despite very powerful and could actually kill quite quickly, they were limited really to closer ranges, because if you tried to engage long range, you weren't going to get any aim assist, and it was going to be a real struggle. They've taken that away in recent CODs and made every gun a god weapon. It's just kind of frustrating. And, you know, recoil, right? The guns do have some recoil back in Black Ops 2. Even the MSMC does kick actually a fair bit. Recoil, in fairness, has never been a massive thing in COD anyway, but it's still interesting to note because mostly nowadays these things don't happen. And even he says movement is based around strafe shooting, right? So when you're in a gunfight, it's around strafing left and right rather than the slide cancelling or doing any of the crazy movement we have in recent COD games. And as Clay says, you know, actual gunfights, right? What is going on? Actual back and forth shooting, you know, back and forth gunfights, right? Which we don't seem to have in nowadays Call of Duty. So some good nostalgia, but also some good takeaways, I think, of what made Black Ops 2 so good from a gunfight perspective. There were other things, of course, that made the game great as well from a competitive perspective. But what did Shotzzy think about it, right? Because there were some clips coming out of Shotzzy playing the Black Ops 2 throwback. He had to sub in for Karma. I was wondering how he would get on because he's used to the modern movements, and like he's not so used to the strafe shooting and the jump shotting being viable, and drop shotting was kind of viable in close ranges in Black Ops 2, but not super viable because it would you wouldn't, like, your aim would kind of become hip fire, I think, when he drop shotted back in Black Ops 2. But yeah, so I'll share a clip of him maybe not having the best time in Black Ops 2, but in fairness, this was just probably wasn't really his movement at fault. It was more like he just missed his shots, and in smokes you got no aim assist at all back in Black Ops 2. So that's what's going on in the second clip. But also Rambo saying on Zoomer's stream that yeah, even in their scrims for last season and probably also for the upcoming season, that the abuse of movement is something that they talk to Shotzzy about, because arguably he goes a bit too rogue.
Whoa, Shotzzy's in! Old school! Shotzzy's getting well and truly into this one. He is not backing down! Oh my good god, through the smoke! Crim guns him! Joey D gets the trade though straight on through. The bomb does get planted.
This is just going to be time wasted. They have to root out for Standy.
Oh, he nearly catches on point.
Sometimes I feel like people over movement.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I think people just movement way too much, and it just hurts you. You know, Ray? You know what I'm saying, Ray?
Oh yeah, I know what you're saying.
The constant thorn in their side, and Ake's moving up the middle of the map.
Trust me, that's brought up to the table a good amount.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. It's a good problem to have, man. Ooh.
So what do you guys think about this, right? Because we know Shotzzy to be the movement king. This guy's an absolute god when it comes to moving around the map in the most, well, entertaining way possible. And it was working massively to his advantage in the early part of, well, Call of Duty Vanguard. But as the season progressed, individually, his level kind of regressed a little bit. And I do wonder whether it was because teams understood, like, what was going to come from Shotzzy and what to expect from him. And the way he'd play on the maps often was, yeah, a little bit more aggressive than maybe was required. Sometimes you'd see him take a chal or, like, go for a certain route that maybe wasn't best advised. But, I mean, look, he can make it work better than anyone else can. But does it still mean it's a good idea? Maybe not, right? So maybe that's the conversation that Rambo and the team have kind of had with Shotzzy here. Is like, look, even last season, and I'm sure it will continue to be a topic, that sometimes Shotzzy just goes a bit too rogue, does a bit too much, tries to go a bit crazy, doesn't know when to slow down and cool off a little bit. And that's not necessarily a movement thing in the recent Call of Duty games, but it's just like part of Shotzzy's character and nature and his playstyle of where when he's on fire, like you guys might remember that Berlin map where he went like 43, I don't know how many kills he dropped, but he had like crazy performance on Berlin Hardpoint, and he was just being an absolute menace, just hitting all the routes, flanking behind people, just being like such a nuisance and still getting all the kills. But sometimes it doesn't work for him, right? Like often when you're going for these crazy movement moments and you're gonna like jump out of this window and go for the fight, like it's not always gonna work for you if they're ready for it and they know what's coming. And I think we kind of saw that maybe as the season progressed, that Shotzzy was just dominant at the start, and in fairness, his search and destroy the entire season was dominant. But in Hardpoint and Control, his numbers as the season progressed kind of fell off a little bit. And there was also the talk from Aches and Co about the LAN versus online discrepancy, that on LAN, Shotzy's numbers weren't the same. And maybe part of that is because on LAN, you kind of, well, the argument is you get away with a bit less. Online, you've got the latency and some internet issues, which mean you don't maybe kill quite as quickly online as you do on LAN. And therefore, if you want to go for some crazy movement, jump around the corner, go for a ridiculous chal, you can probably get away with it a little bit more online. And also on LAN, people tend to play a little bit slow, a little bit more conservative, post up a little bit more, and you can get away with that type of stuff less. So maybe that's kind of been the discussion here, that yes, online Shotzzy can be an absolute menace and get away with it, but maybe the team has been thinking, you know what, for the upcoming season, it was a problem for them arguably at the end of last season, that Shotzzy was just doing a little bit too much, going a little bit too crazy. And we see this from players over Call of Duty history, right, that are incredibly talented. Like often they'll just go for something that maybe is ill-advised, but they're good enough that they can get away with it and make it work. But look, if you're, well, the one player out of the four in your team going down and throwing away your life for no reason, it is not going to be beneficial to your chances to hold on to a hardpoint, let's say. And that was certainly something that people had noted towards the end of last season. I thought it was worthy of mention here, because Rambo already looking ahead to what changes Shotzzy might have to make to his playstyle for this upcoming season, and he got a bit of a learn experience maybe here in Black Ops 2, the throwback tournament, just because the movement might not quite be so insane here going into Modern Warfare 2 as it was last year in Vanguard. Just to mention this also, and Brian's stats thought pretty cool, the top 15 best average placements during the original Black Ops 2 cycle. Crim, Aches and TP leading the way with a 1.8, Parasite with a 2.64, then Killer, Merc, Clay, Karma, Nade, Scump and Big T all here at a 4th average placing, tied for 9, I suppose. I guess Nade should be there as well. Miracles, Stainville as well, Sharp and Methods. These are some of the names that I was talking to you guys about earlier today, really, where Killer at least is still kind of involved in the community to some degree, whereas the likes of Miracles and Stainville and even Sharp and Proofy, it's like such legendary names in COD history, but where have they really gone? I mean, you see some of them on Twitter sometimes, but yeah, it's kind of difficult to see. But very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, take care, and I'll see you next time.